Hello there, and welcome to Deep Sleep Seas. I'm so glad you found your way here tonight. Maybe you've had a long day, or perhaps you're the kind of person who likes falling asleep to the gentle rhythm of ocean mysteries rather than counting sheep. Either way, tonight's journey is for you. You've got nothing to do but rest. Let your mind relax, your breathing slow, and your body grow light, as if the ocean currents themselves are cradling you. Because tonight we aren't simply learning about sea creatures. We're drifting through the world of one of the ocean's most extraordinary inhabitants, the octopus. These soft-bodied, eight-armed wonders have been gliding through our seas for hundreds of millions of years, adapting, evolving, and surprising us at every turn. Beneath their alien appearance lies a complexity that challenges everything we thought we knew about intelligence, about consciousness, about what it means to think and feel and navigate the world. We'll travel gently from their remarkable anatomy to their breathtaking camouflage abilities, from their surprisingly short lives to their vast diversity across every ocean on Earth. You'll hear of three hearts beating in rhythm, of blue blood flowing through copper-rich veins, and of brains that exist not just in the head but in every arm. Some of what you hear tonight may surprise you, or at the very least spark some gentle curiosity as you drift towards sleep. And just before we begin, if these calm, curious explorations help you unwind or give you a quiet way to end your day, consider liking and subscribing to the channel. It helps others find their way here too, one sleepy soul at a time. Now, let's begin. An octopus doesn't have bones, not a single one. Its entire body is soft, flexible, malleable, in ways that seem almost impossible when you first witness it. This creature can squeeze through openings no larger than its beak, the only hard structure in its entire form, a coffee cup, a coin slot, a crack between rocks barely wide enough for your finger. If the beak fits, the whole octopus follows, its body reshaping like water flowing through stone. This boneless construction is not a limitation, it's a superpower. In the ocean's eternal game of predator and prey, the octopus plays both roles with equal skill, and its soft body allows it to hide in places most creatures cannot reach. A small crevice in a coral reef, the gap beneath a boulder, the hollow interior of an abandoned shell. The octopus flows into these spaces like liquid, then settles, patient and still, waiting for the moment to strike or the danger to pass. But the absence of bones is just the beginning of the octopus's anatomical peculiarities. Let's talk about hearts. Humans have one, dogs have one. Whales, with bodies larger than buses, still have just one heart. The octopus has three hearts, each beating in its own rhythm, each serving its own purpose in the quiet darkness of the deep. Two of these hearts are called branchial hearts. They sit near the gills, one on each side, and their job is singular and essential. They pump deoxygenated blood that has given up its oxygen to the body's tissues, toward the gills. There, in the feathery structures where water flows constantly across delicate membranes, the blood releases carbon dioxide and picks up fresh oxygen from the surrounding sea. It's a transaction, a trade happening thousands of times each day, invisible and automatic. Then there's the third heart, the systemic heart. This one is larger, more powerful, and it sits at the center of the octopus's circulation. Once the branchial hearts have sent oxygenated blood through the gills, the systemic heart takes over. It pumps that fresh, oxygen-rich blood throughout the octopus's body, delivering life to muscles, organs, neurons, and skin. Every cell depends on this central pump to receive the oxygen it needs to function. But here's something remarkable, something that seems almost paradoxical. When an octopus swims, when it jets through the water using its siphon to propel itself backward in sudden bursts of speed, the systemic heart stops beating, just stops. The flow of oxygenated blood to the body pauses, temporarily suspended while the octopus is in motion. This is why octopuses prefer to crawl. Swimming exhausts them in ways that walking along the seafloor does not. Their anatomy favors stealth over speed, patience over panic. And if three hearts weren't unusual enough, consider the blood itself. Human blood is red because of hemoglobin, an iron-based protein that binds to oxygen and carries it through our veins. When that hemoglobin meets oxygen in our lungs, it turns bright red. The octopus has evolved something different. Its blood uses hemocyanin, a copper-based protein, and when hemocyanin binds to oxygen, it doesn't turn red, it turns blue. Blue blood flowing through three hearts. It sounds like something from a fantasy novel, but it's real, and it serves a purpose. Hemocyan is more efficient than hemoglobin in cold environments and in places where oxygen is scarce. Deep in the ocean, where temperatures hover just above freezing and oxygen levels are low, copper-based blood allows the octopus to thrive where iron-based creatures would struggle. It's an adaptation honed over millions of years, a solution to a problem most land animals never face. When an octopus dies, when its heart stops beating and its blood stops flowing, the hemocyanin releases its oxygen. The blue fades, the blood turns clear, colorless, like the water surrounding it. It's as if the creature returns to the sea in stages, first in life, then in death, then in dissolution. But the octopus's anatomy holds even more surprises. Let's consider the brain, or rather the brains, plural. An octopus has 9 of them. One central brain, located in its bulbous head, processes sensory information, makes decisions, coordinates movement, and handles the higher-level thinking that makes octopuses so remarkably intelligent. But the central brain doesn't work alone. Each of the octopus's 8 arms contains its own mini-brain, a cluster of neurons capable of semi-independent action. About 2/3 of an octopus's neurons are in its arms, not in its head. That's roughly 500 million neurons in total for the common octopus, distributed throughout its body. Each arm can taste, touch, and explore without constant instruction from the central brain. An arm can reach into a crevice, feel for prey, identify it by taste and texture, and make the decision to grab it, all without asking permission from headquarters. The central brain can override these decisions if needed, maintaining overall coordination, but the arms have remarkable autonomy. Researchers tested this in experiments. They put an octopus in a maze and challenged it to guide one of its arms through the maze to reach food. But they designed the maze so the arm would have to leave the water. Out of water, the arm couldn't use its chemical sensors. It had to rely on vision from the central brain to navigate, and most octopuses succeeded. The central brain processed what the eyes saw, then directed the arm through the maze, proving that these systems can work together when needed. But when the arm is in water, when its sensors are active, it operates with a high degree of independence. Imagine having 8 arms that could each work on separate tasks simultaneously. You could cook dinner with 2 arms, write an email with another, pet your cat with a 4th, and still have 4 more arms available for whatever else needs doing. For an octopus, this distributed intelligence is normal. It's how they hunt, how they explore, how they interact with their environment. Each arm is an extension of the mind, but also a mind in its own right. The suckers on these arms are another marvel entirely. An octopus can have over 1,600 suckers across all 8 arms, and each sucker is lined with chemoreceptors. These are sensors that detect chemicals in the water, allowing the octopus to taste and smell through its suckers. When an octopus reaches into a hole in a reef, it's not just feeling around blindly, it's tasting the water, smelling for the chemical signature of a crab or a fish, identifying prey before it even sees it. Each sucker is incredibly strong, capable of gripping with surprising force. The suction is created by muscles that pull the center of the sucker inward, creating a vacuum that adheres to surfaces with remarkable tenacity. Researchers have measured the grip strength of octopus suckers and found that they can support significant weight. An octopus can climb vertical surfaces, cling to rocky overhangs, and manipulate objects with precision, all thanks to these remarkable appendages. And if an octopus loses an arm, perhaps to a predator or an accident, it simply grows a new one. Regeneration. The lost arm begins to regrow from the wound site, slowly rebuilding muscle, nerves, suckers, and skin over time. Eventually, the new arm is indistinguishable from the original. Even more remarkably, scientists have observed that the regenerated arm retains some neural memory, some trace of what the original arm knew. The exact mechanism isn't fully understood, but it suggests that memory in an octopus isn't stored solely in the central brain. It's distributed, like everything else about this creature. The octopus's body is a study in distributed systems, in redundancy and resilience. 3 hearts mean that if one falters, others continue. 9 brains mean that thinking isn't centralized in one vulnerable location. 1,600 suckers mean that information comes from everywhere at once, a constant stream of sensory data flowing in from every direction. This is a body designed not for speed or strength in the traditional sense, but for adaptability, for intelligence, for survival in an environment that is dark, cold, and full of hungry predators. And then there's the skin. Oh, the skin. We'll talk more about this when we discuss camouflage. But for now, just know this: octopus skin is unlike any other skin on Earth. It contains millions of specialized cells that can change color, texture, and pattern in fractions of a second. It can sense light directly, without input from the eyes. The skin itself sees. The skin itself decides. It's a sensory organ, a defensive tool, a communication device, and a disguise all at once. When you look at an octopus, you're looking at a creature that evolution has shaped in ways that seem almost alien, almost impossible. It's a body with no bones but immense strength, blood that's blue instead of red, hearts that stop when movement begins, brains in every arm, skin that sees and changes like a living canvas. This is not a creature built on the same template as most other animals. It's something different, something strange, something wonderful. Intelligence is a tricky thing to define, especially when you're trying to measure it across species that have evolved along completely different paths. How do you compare the intelligence of an octopus to that of a dog or a crow or a dolphin? They don't share the same kind of brain, the same evolutionary history, or the same environmental pressures. And yet, when scientists observe octopuses, when they design experiments to test their abilities, they consistently find something remarkable. Octopuses are smart, really smart, perhaps smarter than any other invertebrate on the planet. Let's start with problem solving. In laboratories and aquariums around the world, octopuses have demonstrated an ability to solve puzzles that would challenge many vertebrates. Give an octopus a jar with a crab inside, sealed with a screw-top lid, and what happens? The octopus figures it out. It grabs the jar, rotates it, applies pressure with its arms in just the right way, and unscrews the lid. Sometimes it takes a few tries, sometimes it happens on the first attempt. But the octopus learns, adjusts its strategy, and eventually succeeds. This isn't instinct. This isn't a behavior hardwired into the octopus from birth. It's problem solving. The ability to assess a situation, try different approaches, learn from failures, and apply that learning to achieve a goal. Some octopuses have even been observed opening jars from the inside when researchers placed them in sealed containers. They figured out the mechanism, applied force in the right direction, and freed themselves. Escape artistry is a common theme in octopus lore. Aquarium staff around the world have stories of octopuses escaping from their tanks, traveling across floors, entering other tanks to eat the inhabitants, and returning to their own tanks before morning. One famous case involved an octopus in New Zealand that squeezed through a small gap at the top of its tank, crawled across the floor, slithered into a drain pipe that led to the ocean, and made its way back to freedom. The staff arrived the next morning to find an empty tank and a trail of water leading to the drain. These escapes aren't accidents. They're planned. An octopus will watch its environment, learn the routines of the people around it, identify weaknesses in its containment, and exploit those weaknesses at the right moment. Often they escape at night when they're less likely to be observed. They wait for the moment when the coast is clear, then make their move. This suggests not just intelligence, but patience, planning, and an understanding of cause and effect. Octopuses also demonstrate observational learning, the ability to learn by watching others. In experiments, researchers placed two octopuses in adjacent tanks where they could see each other. They trained one octopus to perform a task by offering it a food reward. The other octopus watched. Then, when given the same task, the observer octopus performed it correctly on the first try, or with very few mistakes. It had learned by observation alone, without any direct experience or trial and error. This kind of social learning is rare in invertebrates. It requires the ability to recognize that another creature's actions can be meaningful, to understand that copying those actions might lead to the same result, and to remember what was observed well enough to reproduce it later. These are sophisticated cognitive abilities that we typically associate with primates, corvids, and cetaceans, not with mollusks. Memory is another area where octopuses excel. They have both short-term and long-term memory. They can remember the location of their dens, the best hunting grounds in their territory, the positions of predators they've encountered. They can remember individual humans, recognizing faces and associating certain people with positive or negative experiences. In one study, an octopus took a strong dislike to one particular researcher and would squirt water at that person whenever they walked past the tank, while being friendly to other staff members. The octopus remembered, held a grudge, and expressed it. Their memory extends to their sense of space and navigation as well. An octopus can leave its den, travel across a complex underwater landscape, hunt for food in various locations, and return to its den by a direct route, not necessarily retracing its outward path. This suggests cognitive mapping, the ability to build and maintain a mental representation of the environment. It's the same skill that allows birds to migrate thousands of miles and return to the same nesting site each year, or that allows you to navigate your neighborhood without consciously thinking about every turn. Tool use is another marker of intelligence, and octopuses use tools. In the wild, researchers have observed veined octopuses collecting coconut shell halves from the ocean floor, carrying them awkward distances by wrapping their arms around the shells and walking on the remaining arms, and then reassembling the shells into a protective shelter. This is preparation, foresight, and the use of external objects to achieve a future goal. It's true tool use by any definition. Other octopuses have been seen gathering rocks and arranging them as barriers at the entrance to their dens, creating a fortified wall that makes it harder for predators to reach them. They move the rocks individually, position them carefully, and adjust the configuration as needed. Again, this is planning, construction, and the manipulation of the environment to suit their needs. Play is another behavior associated with intelligence, and octopuses play. In experiments, researchers introduced novel objects into octopus tanks, things the octopuses had never seen before, and that had no connection to food or survival. Balls, strange shapes, and the octopuses interacted with these objects in ways that seemed to have no purpose other than curiosity and entertainment. They would push a floating bottle, watch it drift across the tank on a water current, then catch it and push it again, over and over. 20 times in a row. That's play. That's the behavior of a mind that seeks stimulation beyond mere survival. One particularly fascinating aspect of octopus intelligence is their personality. Yes, personality. Individual octopuses behave differently from one another in ways that are consistent over time and across situations. Some are bold, approaching novel objects and unfamiliar people without hesitation. Others are shy, retreating into their dens at the slightest disturbance. Some are aggressive, quick to lunge at prey or perceived threats. Others are more cautious, taking their time to assess situations before acting. Researchers have conducted formal studies of octopus personality using the same methods they use to study personality in vertebrates. They expose octopuses to standardized stimuli and measure their responses across multiple trials. The results consistently show individual differences that fit into recognizable personality dimensions. This isn't anthropomorphism, the tendency to project human traits onto animals. It's quantifiable behavioral variation, the kind of thing that indicates each octopus has its own temperament, its own way of interacting with the world. These cognitive abilities, this intelligence, evolved completely independently from vertebrate intelligence. The last common ancestor of octopuses and humans lived over 500 million years ago, and it was a simple worm-like creature with barely any nervous system at all. Octopuses and humans evolved big brains, problem-solving abilities, memory, and behavioral flexibility along completely separate evolutionary paths. It's convergent evolution on a grand scale, proof that intelligence is not a single thing but rather a solution that evolution can arrive at through many different routes. And yet, despite all this intelligence, octopuses live only 1 to 2 years on average. Some larger species, like the giant Pacific octopus, may live up to 5 years, but that's rare. Most octopuses hatch, grow, learn, reproduce, and die within a shockingly brief window of time. Imagine having the cognitive abilities of a dog, but living only as long as a mayfly, relatively speaking. It's tragic in a way, all that learning and memory and personality compressed into such a short existence. Why such a brief life? The answer lies in their reproductive strategy, which we'll explore more later. But the short version is this: octopuses are semelparous, meaning they reproduce once and then die. After mating, their bodies begin to shut down. Hormones trigger a process called senescence, a rapid aging where the octopus stops eating, loses weight, becomes sluggish, and eventually dies. For females, this happens after they lay their eggs and guard them until they hatch. For males, it happens shortly after mating. This reproductive strategy has shaped everything about the octopus, including its intelligence. Because they live such short lives, octopuses cannot rely on long-term social structures or learned behavior passed down through generations. Each octopus must learn quickly, adapt rapidly, and survive independently from a very young age. There's no parental care beyond the mother guarding her eggs until they hatch, and once the young octopuses emerge, they're on their own immediately. Most don't survive. The intelligence of an octopus is an individual achievement, learned anew by each generation, lost when that individual dies. It's a different kind of intelligence than what we see in long-lived social animals like elephants or dolphins or humans, where knowledge accumulates over lifetimes and is shared across generations. Octopus intelligence is solitary, ephemeral, brilliant but brief, and perhaps that makes it even more remarkable. These creatures figure out the world almost entirely on their own, in just a year or two, with no teachers and no inherited wisdom. They're born, they learn, they adapt, and then they're gone, leaving no legacy except the possibility of their genes continuing in the next generation. As you rest tonight, consider this: somewhere in the ocean, an octopus is solving a problem, figuring out how to open a shell, navigating back to its den, watching, learning, remembering. It's doing all of this with a brain structured nothing like yours, with neurons distributed throughout its body, with a lifespan measured in months, and yet it's thinking, it's aware, it's intelligent in ways we're only beginning to understand. If you were to watch an octopus change color, truly watch it happen in real time, you might struggle to believe your eyes. One moment, the octopus is draped across a white sandy patch of seafloor, its skin pale and smooth. The next moment, it's moving toward a cluster of brown and green algae-covered rocks, and as it moves, its skin changes. Not gradually, not with a slow fade from one color to another. Instantly. In less than a second, the octopus's entire body shifts from pale white to mottled brown and green, matching the rocks almost perfectly. Then it settles, adjusts, and the transformation continues. Its skin texture changes. Small bumps rise across its surface, mimicking the rough texture of the rocks. Larger protrusions extend upward, resembling strands of algae. Within 3 seconds of reaching the rocks, the octopus has become nearly invisible. You might look directly at it and not realize it's there. This is not hyperbole. This is what octopuses actually do, and they do it constantly, every day throughout their lives. It's one of the most sophisticated camouflage systems in the entire animal kingdom, and understanding how it works requires looking at the octopus's skin at multiple levels, from the gross anatomy down to the cellular structure. The skin of an octopus contains millions of specialized cells called chromatophores. Each chromatophore is like a tiny balloon filled with pigment. The pigments come in different colors, primarily reds, yellows, browns, and blacks. The chromatophore itself is a sac of pigment, surrounded by a ring of muscle fibers. When those muscles contract, they pull the sac open, stretching it wider. This spreads the pigment across a larger area of skin, making that color more visible. When the muscles relax, the sac contracts back to a small dot, and the color becomes less visible. By expanding and contracting different chromatophores in different patterns, the octopus can create virtually any combination of colors and patterns. And this happens fast. The neural signals that control chromatophores travel quickly, and the muscles respond almost instantaneously. An octopus can flash from one color to another in about half a second. It can create moving patterns, waves of color that ripple across its body. It can display different colors on different parts of its body simultaneously, showing one pattern to a potential mate on one side while displaying an aggressive warning to a rival on the other side. But chromatophores are only part of the story. Beneath the chromatophores lies another layer of cells called iridophores. These don't contain pigment. Instead, they contain stacks of reflective plates made of protein crystals. These plates reflect light in specific wavelengths, creating iridescent colors, primarily blues, greens, and silvers. The octopus can adjust the spacing of these plates, changing the wavelength of light they reflect, which changes the color. Iridophores add shimmer, metallic sheens, and colors that chromatophores can't produce alone. Below the iridophores are leucophores, cells that scatter light in all directions, creating white or reflective surfaces. Leucophores help the octopus match the brightness of its surroundings. If the octopus is on a bright sunlit sandy bottom, it uses leucophores to reflect that brightness, becoming pale and reflective. If it's in a dark crevice, it suppresses the leucophores and uses darker chromatophores to match the shadows. Together, these three layers of specialized cells give the octopus an almost unlimited palette. It can produce reds, oranges, yellows, browns, blacks, whites, blues, greens, silvers, and golds. It can create patterns, stripes, spots, mottles, bands. It can match the color of coral, rocks, sand, algae, and even the dappled light filtering down through the water's surface. But color is only half of the camouflage equation. Texture is just as important. An octopus might match the color of a rock perfectly, but if its skin remains smooth while the rock is bumpy, predators will still spot the discrepancy. So the octopus changes its texture too, using another set of muscles and structures in its skin. Beneath the skin are small muscle bundles called papillae. These muscles can contract and relax independently, pulling sections of skin upward into bumps, ridges, spikes, or folds. Some papillae can extend several centimeters, creating horn-like projections or dangling flaps of skin that resemble seaweed. The octopus can smooth these out just as quickly, returning to a sleek, streamlined shape when it needs to swim. This combination of color and texture changes allows for camouflage so effective that even trained observers standing close to an octopus have difficulty seeing it. Researchers studying octopuses in the wild sometimes mark individuals with harmless tags to track them over time, and even knowing approximately where an octopus should be, they often spend minutes searching before finally spotting it. Now here's something truly remarkable. Octopuses are colorblind. They have only one type of photoreceptor in their eyes, which means they see the world in shades of gray, not in color. And yet they can match colors with incredible accuracy. How? Scientists have discovered two possible explanations. First, octopus skin itself may be able to sense light and color. The same proteins that detect light in the eyes, called opsins, have been found in the skin, particularly in small hair-like structures on the arms. These could allow the skin to detect the wavelength of light hitting it and adjust its color accordingly, without input from the eyes or brain. The skin sees. The skin knows what color it should be. It's a decentralized system, like so much of the octopus's biology. Second, the octopus's strangely shaped pupils may help with color perception despite their single type of eye receptor. Octopus pupils are rectangular, sometimes slit-shaped, and this shape causes chromatic aberration, the same thing that happens when a lens focuses different colors of light at different distances. By moving their eyes and pupils, octopuses might be able to detect color based on these aberrations, giving them limited color vision despite having only one receptor type. It's an elegant solution to a perceptual problem. But why camouflage in the first place? The most obvious answer is predation. Octopuses are soft-bodied, vulnerable, and highly nutritious. Many ocean predators would love to make a meal of them. Sharks, large fish, dolphins, seals, sea otters, even seabirds that plunge into shallow water, without armor, without speed, without venom. As a primary defense for most species, the octopus relies on not being seen. Camouflage is survival. If you can't be spotted, you can't be eaten. But camouflage serves another purpose: hunting. Octopuses are predators, and they hunt by stealth. A motionless octopus camouflaged against the reef can wait for a crab to wander close, then strike with sudden speed, grabbing the prey before it has time to react. Or the octopus can slowly stalk its prey, moving carefully, changing its camouflage with each step to match the new background. By the time the prey notices anything amiss, it's too late. The octopus is upon it. Some octopuses have even developed what's called disruptive camouflage. Instead of trying to blend in perfectly, they create bold patterns that break up their body shape, making it harder for predators or prey to recognize them as an octopus. Stripes, spots, and bands can make the octopus look like a collection of separate objects rather than a single animal. It's the same principle used in military camouflage patterns, and it's remarkably effective. And then there are the octopuses that take camouflage even further, into the realm of mimicry. The mimic octopus found in the waters of Southeast Asia doesn't just blend into the background, it impersonates other animals. When threatened by a damselfish, a predator that hunts octopuses, the mimic octopus will change its color and behavior to resemble a sea snake, an animal that damselfish avoid. The octopus flattens its body, extends two arms forward in opposite directions, and undulates through the water in a serpentine motion. From a distance, it looks like a venomous sea snake. The damselfish is fooled and backs off. The mimic octopus has been observed impersonating at least 15 different species, including lionfish, flatfish, jellyfish, and even swimming crabs. It seems to choose its impersonation based on the threat it's facing, suggesting not just mimicry but strategic mimicry, the ability to assess the situation and select the most effective disguise. There's even speculation that some octopuses use color changes for communication, flashing patterns at other octopuses to signal aggression, submission, or interest in mating. Male Caribbean reef squid, close relatives of octopuses, can split their body color down the middle, showing aggressive dark colors to rival males on one side, while displaying attractive lighter colors to females on the other side. Simultaneously, it's a physiological feat that seems almost impossible, but it happens. Beyond survival and communication, there's another fascinating possibility: dreaming. A few years ago, researchers captured video of a sleeping octopus changing colors rhythmically while at rest. The colors shifted through a sequence: pale yellow, then dark brown, then mottled red, cycling through different patterns. The octopus's skin went through the motions of camouflage without any external stimulus. Was it dreaming? Was it experiencing some kind of internal visual imagery that triggered the camouflage response? We don't know. The concept of dreaming requires consciousness, an inner life, something we struggle to measure in animals so different from ourselves. But the video is suggestive. It hints at the possibility that octopuses have subjective experiences, that they might possess some form of consciousness. It's a tantalizing idea, and one that makes you look at these creatures differently. When an octopus changes color, is it just responding to external stimuli, or is there something more happening behind those large expressive eyes? As you lie here tonight, eyes closed, drifting towards sleep, imagine an octopus resting in its den. Its skin shifts slowly through shades of gray and brown, colors cycling without purpose or pattern. Perhaps it's dreaming. Perhaps in its brief, bright life, it experiences something like what you experience now as you fall asleep. Rest well, knowing that even in creatures so alien, there might be something familiar, something shared. The ocean is not one environment. It's thousands, millions, each different from the next in temperature, pressure, light, and the creatures that inhabit it. And octopuses have found their way into almost all of them. From sun-warmed tide pools where children search for crabs to the lightless abyssal plains 4 kilometers beneath the surface, octopuses have adapted, specialized, and thrived. Let's start shallow, where the water is warm and the sunlight reaches the bottom. Here, in coral reefs and rocky coastlines, live some of the most familiar octopus species. The common octopus, Octopus vulgaris, makes its home in these environments, claiming dens in rocky crevices or hollow spaces beneath coral formations. During the day, it rests in its den, occasionally emerging to rearrange the rocks at the entrance or to grab a passing crab. At night, it hunts, moving silently across the reef with arms spread wide, searching, tasting, feeling for prey. The day octopus, despite its name, is active during daylight hours in tropical waters. It's bold, curious, and often visible to divers who know where to look. Its camouflage is so effective that it can hunt in broad daylight without being noticed by either predators or prey. It flows across the reef like a liquid, changing color and texture with each surface it crosses, a living kaleidoscope of browns, greens, and reds. In the shallows, octopuses face constant danger. Predators are everywhere, groupers lurking in caves, moray eels prowling the reef at night, sharks patrolling the deeper channels. But they also find abundant food: crabs scuttling across the rocks, shrimp hiding in crevices, small fish sleeping in the coral. It's a dangerous but productive environment, and the octopuses that live here must be alert, intelligent, and fast. Now descend, move deeper, beyond the reach of sunlight, into the twilight zone where only dim blue light filters down from above. Here the water is colder, the pressure higher, and the inhabitants stranger, and still, there are octopuses. Some species of octopus live in this mesopelagic zone, drifting through the water column or clinging to rocky outcrops on seamounts. They're often pale, translucent even, their skin lacking the rich pigments of their shallow water relatives. Why bother with complex camouflage when there's barely any light to see by? Instead, these octopuses rely on transparency and stillness, hanging motionless in the water, waiting for small fish or crustaceans to wander within reach. Go deeper still, down where the last traces of sunlight vanish entirely, down to 2,000 meters, 3,000, where the water is near freezing and the pressure would crush an unprotected human instantly. Even here, in this alien realm, there are octopuses. The Dumbo octopus gets its name from the pair of fins that protrude from the sides of its head, resembling the ears of Disney's famous elephant. These fins, along with the webbing between its arms, give the Dumbo octopus a way of moving through the water that's unique among octopuses. It doesn't crawl or jet, it flies, or rather, it flaps its fins and undulates the webbing between its arms, propelling itself gracefully through the deep. Watching a Dumbo octopus move is like watching a tiny ghost glide through darkness, serene and unhurried. Dumbo octopuses are small, usually less than 30 centimeters long, but they live deeper than any other known octopus species. They've been observed and photographed at depths exceeding 4,000 meters, making them among the deepest living octopuses on Earth. At these depths, life is sparse. Food is scarce. Encounters with mates are rare. Dumbo octopuses have adapted to this scarcity with a flexible reproductive strategy. Females carry eggs at various stages of development, allowing them to spawn opportunistically whenever conditions are favorable, rather than waiting for a specific season that may never come. Another deep-sea octopus, Octopus hydrothermalis, lives in one of the most extreme environments on the planet, hydrothermal vents. These are underwater geysers, where superheated water, rich in minerals and chemicals, erupts from cracks in the seafloor. The water can exceed 300 degrees Celsius, hot enough to melt lead, but it cools rapidly as it mixes with the surrounding seawater. The area immediately around a vent is warm, sometimes pleasantly so, compared to the near-freezing water of the deep ocean. Octopus hydrothermalis has claimed this environment as its home. It lives among the vent communities, the dense aggregations of tube worms, mussels, and crabs that cluster around the warm water. These vents are oases in the deep, powered not by sunlight but by chemical energy, bacteria that convert the minerals in the vent water into food, and where there's food, there are predators. The octopus hunts the crabs and other small animals that graze on the bacterial mats. Living near hydrothermal vents comes with challenges. The temperature gradients are steep. Move too close to the vent, and you cook. Stay too far away, and you freeze. Octopus has adapted with hemocyanin that functions efficiently across a wide range of temperatures, and with behaviors that keep it in the Goldilocks zone, where conditions are just right. Recently, scientists discovered deep-sea octopus nurseries near low-temperature hydrothermal springs off the coast of Costa Rica. These are not the scalding vents of the mid-ocean ridges, but gentler seeps where water at around 10 degrees Celsius wells up from below. This is still warmer than the surrounding 2-degree water, and warmth matters when you're brooding eggs. Female octopuses were found clustered around these springs, each one curled protectively over a clutch of eggs, dozens of them, sometimes hundreds, gathered in small areas where the warm water flowed. The warmer temperature speeds up the development of the eggs, allowing them to hatch sooner. In the deep sea, where food is scarce and predators are patient, every day counts. The faster the eggs develop, the less time the mother has to spend guarding them without eating, and the better chance the hatchlings have to emerge and disperse before something eats them. This discovery was remarkable, not just because it revealed a new octopus species, later named the Dorado octopus, but because it showed that octopuses are still surprising us, still revealing behaviors and adaptations we didn't know existed. The deep ocean is vast and largely unexplored, and every expedition that sends cameras and submersibles into the darkness finds something new. There are likely dozens, maybe hundreds of octopus species we haven't discovered yet, living in corners of the ocean we've never visited. Not all octopuses live in the deep. Some have adapted to the cold waters of the polar regions, where temperatures drop below freezing and ice covers the surface for months at a time. Antarctic octopuses like Palodon charcoti and Megalodon setebos live beneath the sea ice, hunting in water that would kill most other cephalopods. Their hemocyanin is specially adapted to function in these extreme cold conditions, binding and releasing oxygen efficiently, even when the water temperature drops below zero. These polar octopuses tend to be slow-moving and long-lived compared to their tropical relatives. The cold slows their metabolism, and with less energy available, they grow more slowly and live longer. Some Antarctic octopus species may live for several years, a long lifespan for an octopus, though still short by human standards. Across this range of environments, from tide pools to abyssal plains, from tropical reefs to polar ice, octopuses have radiated into an astonishing diversity of forms and lifestyles. There are about 300 known species, though the true number is certainly higher, and they occupy nearly every marine habitat on Earth. Some are no bigger than a coin, while others, like the giant Pacific octopus, can weigh over 50 kilograms and stretch their arms more than 4 meters from tip to tip. What unites all these species, what makes them all octopuses despite their differences, is that core body plan: 8 arms, soft body, complex nervous system, remarkable intelligence. These traits have proven extraordinarily successful, allowing octopuses to colonize habitats as diverse as any group of animals on the planet. Wherever there's water, wherever there's prey and shelter and a place to hide, there's likely an octopus making a living, thriving in the quiet spaces between the rocks. As you rest, imagine the breadth of the ocean. Imagine the millions of individual octopuses going about their lives at this very moment, each one a small point of intelligence and awareness in the vastness. Some are hunting in coral reefs, others are drifting through the twilight zone. Still others are clinging to rocks near hydrothermal vents or resting in dens beneath the Antarctic ice. All of them living, thinking, adapting, all of them part of the endless, ancient rhythm of the sea. An octopus begins life as an egg, barely larger than a grain of rice. The exact size depends on the species. But most octopus eggs are tiny, translucent, and packed with yolk. They develop in clusters, sometimes thousands of eggs strung together like grapes hanging from the ceiling of a den where the mother has laid them. And here's where the tragedy of the octopus begins, because once a female octopus lays her eggs, her life enters its final chapter. She doesn't leave the den, she doesn't eat. She devotes every remaining ounce of her energy to guarding those eggs, ensuring they survive long enough to hatch. This brooding period can last weeks or months, depending on the species and the water temperature. In warm tropical waters, eggs might hatch in as little as 4 weeks. In cold, deep water, it can take much longer. The deepest brooding octopus ever observed, a species called Granaldone boreopacifica, was recorded guarding her eggs for 53 months, 4.5 years, the longest brooding period of any animal on Earth. During all this time, the female doesn't eat. She survives on her stored energy reserves, her body slowly breaking down its own tissues to fuel her vigilance. She constantly tends the eggs, cleaning them with gentle sweeps of her arms, using her siphon to blow currents of fresh water over them to keep them oxygenated and free from debris. She protects them from predators, warding off crabs, fish, and other octopuses that might try to eat them. She doesn't sleep much, she doesn't move far. Her entire existence narrows to this one task: keep the eggs alive. As the weeks pass, she grows weaker. Her skin becomes pale and loose, her eyes grow cloudy, her movements slow. The process is called senescence, a programmed aging triggered by hormones from glands near her eyes. It's not accidental, it's evolutionary strategy. Once she's reproduced, her biological purpose, in the cold calculus of evolution, is finished. The resources she would consume staying alive are better spent giving her offspring a slightly better chance of survival. Eventually, the eggs hatch. Tiny octopuses, smaller than your fingernail, break free from their egg casings and drift away. Most species hatch as planktonic parailarvae, free-swimming young that join the great drifting community of plankton in the ocean's upper layers. They're barely recognizable as octopuses at this stage, translucent and fragile, with enormous eyes and tiny undeveloped arms. They float, carried by currents, eating even tinier zooplankton and trying desperately not to be eaten themselves. The mortality rate is staggering. Of the tens of thousands of eggs a female might lay, only 1 or 2 on average will survive to reproduce. The rest become food for jellyfish, for small fish, for filter feeders, or simply starve when they can't find enough to eat. It's a brutal lottery, and the odds are terrible. By the time the parailarvae hatch, their mother is dead or dying. She'll never see them swim. She'll never know if any survived. She gave everything for them, and now she's gone. Her body eventually consumed by scavengers or decomposing quietly in her den. It's a cycle as old as octopuses themselves, repeated millions of times across the ocean, a story of sacrifice written in protein and instinct. For those few young octopuses that do survive the planktonic stage, the next challenge is finding a place to settle. As they grow, they become too heavy to remain in the plankton. They begin to sink, descending gradually toward the seafloor. When they reach the bottom, they need to find suitable habitat, rocks for shelter, enough food to sustain them, not too many predators. Many die in this transition, but some find a good spot, a small crevice just the right size, and they settle in. Now begins the rapid growth phase. Octopuses grow fast, astonishingly fast. A young octopus can increase its body weight by 5% per day. Think about that. If you weighed 70 kilograms and grew at that rate, you'd gain 3.5 kilograms every day. In a month, you'd weigh over 170 kilograms. By the end of a year, you'd weigh over 38,000 kilograms, more than a dozen elephants. Octopuses don't grow quite that out of control because they don't live that long, but the point stands, their growth is explosive. They're eating constantly, hunting multiple times per day, processing food with remarkable efficiency. An octopus will, over its lifetime, convert about 1/3 of all the food it eats into body mass. The rest goes to energy, metabolism, movement, thought. But that 1/3 is enormous compared to most animals. This rapid growth is necessary because the clock is ticking. Most octopuses only live 1 to 2 years. The giant Pacific octopus might reach 3 to 5 years if it doesn't mate, but even that is brief. The octopus must grow, learn, survive, find a mate, and reproduce all within that compressed time frame. There's no time to waste. By the time an octopus reaches sexual maturity, which happens at different ages for different species, but is usually somewhere between 6 months and 2 years, it's a fully capable predator. It's learned to hunt, to hide, to navigate its territory. It's developed its own personality, its own strategies for survival, and now it faces the final act of its life, reproduction. For males, reproduction is a risky business, but not immediately fatal. The male has a modified arm called a hectocotylus, specialized for transferring sperm. When he finds a receptive female, he approaches carefully. Female octopuses can be aggressive, and a male must be cautious or he might be attacked and eaten. If she accepts him, he inserts the hectocotylus into her mantle cavity and transfers packets of sperm called spermatophores. In some species, the hectocotylus actually detaches and remains in the female's body, while the male retreats, one arm short. In other species, the arm stays attached, but the male still leaves after mating. Either way, his part is done. He may mate with other females if he gets the chance, but his time is limited. The same hormones that trigger sexual maturity also trigger senescence in males. Within a few months of mating, the male will die. For females, mating is the beginning of the end. She may store the sperm for weeks or months until her eggs are mature. But once she lays those eggs, senescence begins. She broods, guards, and slowly fades, giving everything for the next generation. It's a one-way ticket with no return. This reproductive strategy is called semelparity, reproduce once and die. It's rare in complex animals. Most vertebrates reproduce multiple times across their lives, investing in their own survival as much as in their offspring. But octopuses go all in, one time, maximum effort, no second chances. Why? The answer probably lies in their environment and evolutionary history. In the ocean, especially the deep ocean, food is often scarce and unpredictable. Mate encounters are rare. When an octopus finds a mate and conditions are good, it makes sense to invest everything in that opportunity rather than hoping for another one. Additionally, octopuses are heavily preyed upon. Even if they survive to reproduce once, their chances of surviving long enough to reproduce twice are slim. Better to maximize the output of that single reproductive event. But it means every octopus you see is living on borrowed time. That clever creature solving puzzles in an aquarium. It has months, maybe a year. That octopus gliding across the reef in a nature documentary. Same. They're all racing against a biological clock that cannot be stopped, cannot be reset. Once it starts ticking down, it's over. There's something poignant about that, something that makes you appreciate each individual octopus more. Knowing its time is so brief, every moment of its life is precious, because there are so few of them. Every hunt, every exploration, every color change, every thought passing through its distributed brain, it's all happening in the narrow window between hatching and senescence. A bright flare of awareness in the darkness, brief but intense, then gone. Sleep now, and perhaps dream of the octopus's life. From the moment of hatching, tiny and transparent in the open water, to the final days guarding eggs in a quiet den. It's a life measured not in years but in experiences, in learning, in the simple act of being alive and aware in the vast ocean. Brief, yes, but not insignificant, never insignificant. An octopus experiences the world differently than you do. The senses that you rely on most, sight and hearing, are not the octopus's primary tools, though sight is certainly important. Instead, the octopus navigates its environment through a combination of chemical sensing, touch, and proprioception so refined that it borders on the supernatural. Let's start with the arms. Each arm is covered with suckers, and each sucker is lined with chemoreceptors. When an octopus reaches into a crevice or probes under a rock, it's not just feeling around, it's tasting the water. The chemoreceptors detect dissolved chemicals, the molecular signatures of prey, predators, and everything else in the environment. A crab hiding in a hole leaves a chemical trace in the water, and when an octopus's sucker touches that water, it knows immediately what kind of creature is nearby, even if it can't see it. This chemical sense is so sensitive that an octopus can distinguish between different species of prey and even between individual crabs based on their chemical signatures. If an octopus has caught a particular crab before and that crab escaped, the octopus will recognize that individual's smell if it encounters it again. Memory and chemical sensing combine to create a detailed map of the octopus's world, a map written in molecules. The sense of touch is equally important. Octopus suckers are incredibly sensitive to texture and pressure. They can feel the finest details of a surface, the grain of rock, the smoothness of a shell, the roughness of algae. This allows the octopus to identify objects by touch alone, without visual confirmation. In experiments, researchers blindfolded octopuses and gave them various objects to manipulate. The octopuses quickly learned to distinguish between different shapes and textures using only their arms, and they could remember which objects were associated with food rewards. But here's where it gets strange. An octopus doesn't always know where its arms are. You have proprioception, the sense of your body's position in space. You can close your eyes and touch your nose with your finger because you know where both your finger and your nose are without looking. Octopuses lack this ability, at least in the way we experience it. When an octopus's arm is out of sight, hidden in a crevice or behind a rock, the central brain doesn't receive detailed information about where that arm is or what it's doing. The arm operates semi-autonomously, and the brain only knows the arm's position if it can see the arm. Why? Because tracking the position of 8 flexible, boneless arms in 3-dimensional space would require an enormous amount of neural processing. The octopus's brain, as impressive as it is, simply doesn't have the bandwidth to monitor every arm's position constantly. Instead, the brain focuses on higher-level goals, like find food in that crevice, and the arms handle the details of how to search, where to reach, and what to grab. The arm reports back when it finds something interesting, but the moment-to-moment mechanics are handled locally. This creates a strange situation where the octopus's arms are almost like separate entities, extensions of the self that act independently. If you were an octopus and your arm grabbed something behind a rock, you wouldn't know what your arm was holding until you pulled it into view, or until your arm's chemoreceptors and tactile sensors sent a message to your brain saying, "This is a crab." It's decentralized perception, and it's wildly different from how vertebrates experience the world. Vision is important to octopuses, but not in the way you might expect. Octopus eyes are large, prominent, and structurally similar to vertebrate eyes, a remarkable example of convergent evolution. They have a lens, a retina, and muscles that control focus, but as we've discussed, they're colorblind. They have only one type of photoreceptor, so they see in shades of gray. However, their eyes are exceptionally good at detecting movement, contrast, and shapes. An octopus can spot a crab moving across the seafloor from a considerable distance, even in low light. They have excellent depth perception. achieved not through binocular vision, but through a technique called monocular depth perception, where each eye uses subtle cues like parallax and focus to judge distance independently. Octopus pupils are also unusual. They're rectangular or W-shaped, and unlike human pupils that open and close to control the amount of light entering the eye, octopus pupils rotate to stay horizontal regardless of the octopus's body position. If the octopus tilts its head, the pupils rotate to maintain their orientation. This keeps their vision stable and may help with the chromatic aberration trick we discussed earlier, where the pupil shape aids in detecting color despite being colorblind. And then there's the possibility that octopus skin can see. Researchers have found the same light-sensitive proteins in octopus skin that exist in their eyes, particularly in small structures on the arms. These might allow the skin to detect light directly, sensing brightness and possibly even color without input from the eyes or brain. If true, it would mean an octopus's entire body is in some limited way visual. The skin sees, processes, and responds to light autonomously, adjusting color and pattern to match the surroundings without waiting for instructions from the brain. This kind of distributed sensing fits perfectly with the octopus's distributed nervous system. Just as the arms can taste touch and move independently, the skin can see and react independently. It's a different kind of consciousness, if we can call it that, one where perception and response are spread throughout the body rather than centralized in a single processing unit. Octopuses don't hear in the traditional sense. They don't have ears, and they're not sensitive to sound waves traveling through the air or water in the way that fish or marine mammals are. However, they can detect vibrations. Low-frequency vibrations traveling through the water or the substrate can be sensed by their skin and suckers, giving them a crude sense of nearby movement. A large fish swimming past creates pressure waves that the octopus can feel. A predator approaching along the seafloor creates vibrations that travel through the rocks, and the octopus detects them. It's not hearing, but it's not quite touch either. It's somewhere in between, a sense we don't have a good word for, a sensitivity to the mechanical disturbances in the environment. All of these senses work together to create a perceptual world that is alien to us. Imagine experiencing the world primarily through taste and touch, with vision as a secondary sense and color as something your skin detects independently. Imagine your arms making decisions without your conscious input, exploring the world semi-autonomously and reporting back only when they find something interesting. Imagine not knowing where your arms are unless you look at them, but trusting them to handle things competently on their own. That's what it's like to be an octopus, as best we can understand it. It's a form of experience so different from ours that we can barely imagine it. And yet it's happening right now, all around the world, in every ocean. Millions of octopuses sensing, thinking, living in ways we'll never fully comprehend. Close your eyes and try to feel the world the way an octopus might. Let your sense of touch come forward. Feel the texture of the sheets, the temperature of the air, the subtle pressure of your own weight. Imagine tasting the air, detecting molecules, knowing what's nearby without seeing it. Imagine your arms moving independently, handling tasks without your conscious thought. It's impossible to truly experience, but the attempt might shift your perspective, just a little, toward a different way of being. The order Octopoda contains roughly 300 known species, though new species are discovered regularly, and the true number is certainly higher. These species range from the size of a pencil eraser to the size of a small car, and they occupy habitats from sun-warmed tide pools to the coldest, darkest depths of the ocean. Let's explore some of the most remarkable among them. The giant Pacific octopus, Enteroctopus doflani, is the largest octopus species in the world. An average adult weighs around 15 kilograms and has an arm span of about 4 meters, but exceptional individuals can grow much larger. The largest giant Pacific octopus ever recorded weighed over 70 kilograms and had an arm span exceeding 9 meters. Encountering one of these in the wild is an awe-inspiring experience. They're not aggressive toward humans unless provoked, but their size and intelligence make them impossible to ignore. Giant Pacific octopuses live in the cold waters of the northern Pacific, from California to Alaska to Japan and Russia. They prefer rocky coastlines where they can claim dens in large crevices or under boulders. They hunt crabs, clams, shrimp, fish, and occasionally even sharks and seabirds. They're powerful, capable of breaking open thick shells and tearing apart tough prey with their beaks. Despite their size and strength, Giant Pacific octopuses are surprisingly gentle with humans. Divers who encounter them often report that the octopuses are curious, reaching out to touch the diver's equipment or skin, exploring with their suckers. They seem to enjoy the interaction, at least sometimes, and divers describe a sense of mutual curiosity, two intelligent beings meeting and acknowledging each other. On the opposite end of the size spectrum is the star-sucker pygmy octopus, Octopus wolfi, one of the smallest known octopus species. Adults weigh less than a gram and have an arm span of just 2.5 centimeters. They live in shallow waters in the western Pacific, hiding among corals and sponges. Despite their size, they're just as capable as their larger relatives. They hunt tiny crustaceans, change color for camouflage, and exhibit complex behaviors. Somewhere in between is the common octopus, Octopus vulgaris, the most studied and best-known octopus species. It's the species you're most likely to encounter in aquariums, in research labs, and on dinner plates. Common octopuses live in temperate and tropical waters worldwide, occupying rocky reefs, sandy bottoms, and seagrass beds. They're medium-sized, typically weighing 1 to 3 kilograms, and they're highly adaptable, able to thrive in a variety of environments. Then there are the blue-ringed octopuses, genus Hapalochlena, small, beautiful, and deadly. There are several species, all found in the Pacific and Indian Oceans, and all possess venom powerful enough to kill a human. Their venom contains tetrodotoxin, the same neurotoxin found in pufferfish, and there is no anti-venom. A bite from a blue-ringed octopus can cause paralysis and respiratory failure within minutes. Despite this, blue-ringed octopuses are not aggressive. They're shy, retiring creatures that prefer to hide in crevices and under rocks. They only bite if severely threatened or mishandled. Their warning system is their namesake. When disturbed, the octopus flashes bright blue rings across its yellow skin, a vivid display that says, "Stay away, I'm dangerous." Most predators recognize this warning and back off. Humans who ignore it do so at their peril. The mimic octopus, Octopus mimicus, which we've discussed before, deserves another mention. It's not the largest or the smallest, but it's arguably the most talented. Found in the tropical waters of Southeast Asia, it can impersonate at least 15 different species, changing not just its color but its behavior, posture, and movement to match the animal it's mimicking. It can look like a flatfish, a sea snake, a jellyfish, a lionfish, or several species of crab, all depending on the situation. It's a master of deception, and watching it transform is like watching a live magic show. The blanket octopus, Octopus violaceus, demonstrates one of the most extreme examples of sexual dimorphism in the animal kingdom. Females can grow up to 2 meters long, while males are tiny, weighing less than a gram and measuring only about 2.5 centimeters. The female has a spectacular defense mechanism. She unfurls a large cape-like web of skin between her arms, making herself appear much larger to predators. The male, meanwhile, detaches his hectocotylus during mating and leaves it with the female, dying shortly afterward. The female carries multiple of these detached arms in her mantle, stored for later use when she's ready to fertilize her eggs. Female blanket octopuses have another trick. They're immune to the venom of Portuguese man-o'-war jellyfish, and they'll tear off the man-o'-war's stinging tentacles and wield them as weapons, holding them in their arms and using them to deter predators. It's tool use taken to a violent extreme, and it's utterly unique among octopuses. The glass octopus, Vitradonula richardi, is almost completely transparent. Its body is clear, with only its eyes, digestive system, and optic nerve visible. It lives in the mesopelagic zone, drifting through the dim twilight waters at depths of 300 to 1,000 meters. Its transparency is its camouflage. In the open water, where there's no background to blend into, the best strategy is to be invisible, and the glass octopus accomplishes this with near-perfect clarity. And then there's the vampire squid, Vampiroteuthis infernalis, which despite its name is not a squid or an octopus, but a separate branch of the cephalopod family tree. It has 8 arms like an octopus, but it also has 2 long thread-like filaments that it can extend or retract. It lives in the oxygen minimum zones of the deep ocean, regions where dissolved oxygen is so low that most animals can't survive. The vampire squid has adapted to these conditions with a huge oxygen carrying capacity and a slow metabolism that requires very little energy. Its name comes from its appearance, a dark, almost black body with a webbed cloak connecting its arms and large red eyes. When threatened, it inverts its arms over its body, surrounding itself with a spiny, web-covered defense. It doesn't eat live prey. Instead, it feeds on marine snow, the constant rain of dead and decaying organic matter that drifts down from the surface layers. It's a gentle creature, despite its fearsome name, and it represents one of the oldest surviving lineages of cephalopods. Each of these species has its own story, its own adaptations, its own way of making a living in the ocean. From the tiniest pygmy octopus to the giant Pacific octopus, from the venomous blue ring to the mimicking term octopus, each has found a niche, a way to survive and reproduce in an environment full of challenges. And these are just a few of the known species. Every year, new species are discovered. Deep-sea expeditions reveal previously unknown octopuses living near hydrothermal vents or on remote seamounts. Genetic studies split what we thought was one species into several, revealing cryptic diversity hidden in plain sight. The true number of octopus species is unknowable right now, a number that grows every time we send a submersible to the depths or analyze DNA from museum specimens. Each species is a variation on the octopus theme. 8 arms, soft body, intelligent brain, remarkable senses. But within that framework, evolution has created astonishing diversity. Some have lost their ink sacs, some have developed bioluminescence, some have adapted to freshwater conditions, though true freshwater octopuses have never evolved. Probably because osmoregulation in freshwater is too challenging for their physiology. Some octopuses are solitary and territorial. Others, like the larger Pacific striped octopus, live in small social groups, sharing dens and tolerating each other's presence in ways most octopuses would never allow. The more we learn, the more we realize how much we don't know. The octopus family tree is vast, ancient, and still revealing its secrets. As you drift towards sleep, imagine that diversity, hundreds of species, thousands of individual octopuses, each one living its brief life somewhere in the ocean. Some in shallows you could wade through, others in depths no human has ever visited, all of them thinking, sensing, surviving, all of them part of the great web of life that fills the sea. Octopuses are not just intelligent, they're individuals. Spend time with multiple octopuses, observe them, interact with them, and you'll quickly notice that they behave differently from one another in consistent, recognizable ways. Some are bold, others are shy. Some are aggressive and quick to attack prey or perceived threats. Others are cautious, preferring to observe and wait before acting. These differences aren't random or situational. They're personality traits, stable characteristics that define how each octopus interacts with its environment. Scientists have documented this formally, using the same methods they use to study personality in mammals and birds. They expose octopuses to standardized situations, novel objects, potential threats, and opportunities for food, then measure how each octopus responds. The results consistently show individual differences that cluster into recognizable dimensions: boldness versus shyness, aggression versus passivity, exploration versus avoidance. One study observed octopuses in aquariums and categorized them based on their responses to a human approaching the tank. Some octopuses would immediately swim to the front of the tank, arms outstretched, curious and bold. Others would retreat to the back, hiding behind rocks or in their dens. These responses were consistent over multiple trials and across different days. The bold octopus was always bold. The shy octopus remained shy. This has practical implications. Aquarium staff who work with octopuses regularly report that they learn each octopus's personality and adjust their interactions accordingly. A bold, friendly octopus might enjoy being touched and will reach out to grab equipment or fingers. A shy, aggressive octopus might lunge at anyone who gets too close, squirting water or inking defensively. Knowing the individual helps staff care for the animal more effectively and reduces stress for the octopus. But personality goes beyond simple boldness or shyness. Octopuses also show preferences, likes and dislikes that seem to have no clear survival value. In feeding experiments, researchers offered octopuses a choice of different prey items: clams, mussels, crabs, fish. Some octopuses consistently preferred one type of food over others, even when the nutritional value was similar. They had favorite foods, and they made choices based on those preferences. One octopus in a laboratory became famous for taking a dislike to one particular researcher. Every time that person walked past the tank, the octopus would squirt water at them, sometimes with remarkable accuracy, soaking the person's clothing. Other staff members were treated neutrally or even affectionately. The octopus recognized individuals, remembered past interactions, and expressed what could only be described as a grudge. Play is another behavior that suggests personality and subjective experience. In experiments, octopuses given novel objects with no food value will sometimes interact with those objects repeatedly in ways that seem to serve no purpose other than curiosity or entertainment. Pushing a floating bottle back and forth, manipulating a toy, exploring a new structure placed in the tank. This is play, the same kind of non-functional exploration that mammals and birds engage in, and it suggests that octopuses, like those animals, seek stimulation beyond survival needs. Some octopuses are more playful than others. Some ignore novel objects entirely, while others spend long periods interacting with them. This variation isn't explained by age, size, or species alone. It's individual difference, personality. Social behavior varies too, though most octopuses are solitary. They claim territories, defend their dens, and generally avoid other octopuses except during mating. But there are exceptions. The larger Pacific striped octopus, Octopus kirche, lives in groups of up to 40 individuals. They share dens, tolerate close contact, and engage in social interactions that other octopus species would never allow. They've been observed mating face to face, beak to beak, a position that is unheard of in other species, where the male must approach cautiously from a distance to avoid being attacked by the larger female. Why are larger Pacific striped octopuses social when other species are not? The answer probably lies in their environment. They live in areas where food is abundant and suitable den sites are scarce. In this situation, the benefits of tolerating neighbors and sharing space outweigh the costs of competition. Evolution has shaped their behavior to be more social, more tolerant, less aggressive toward conspecifics. But even within this social species, individuals vary. Some are more dominant, claiming the best spots in shared dens. Others are more subordinate, yielding to stronger individuals. Some are more gregarious, seeking out interactions with neighbors. Others are more solitary, staying at the edge of the group. Personality persists even in social contexts. Octopuses also seem to experience something like emotions, though this is controversial and difficult to prove. When an octopus is stressed, its color often changes to a pale, washed-out hue, and its movements become jerky and erratic. When an octopus is calm and comfortable, its color is richer, its movements smoother. When hunting successfully, some octopuses display what looks like excitement, moving quickly, changing colors rapidly, exploring energetically. When unable to reach prey or solve a puzzle, they sometimes show what looks like frustration, repeatedly trying the same unsuccessful strategy, or even inking their tank in apparent distress. Are these emotions in the way humans experience emotions? We can't know for sure. Emotions in humans are associated with specific neural structures and chemical signals in the brain, and octopus brains are organized differently. But the behavior suggests that octopuses have internal states that motivate action and vary based on circumstances. Whether you call that emotion or something else, it's clear that octopuses are not simple stimulus response machines. They have inner lives, subjective experiences that guide their behavior in ways that are consistent, recognizable, and sometimes surprising. One of the most famous examples of octopus personality is the case of Inky, an octopus in New Zealand who escaped from his aquarium. Staff arrived one morning to find Inky's tank empty and a trail of water leading across the floor to a drain pipe. Inky had squeezed through a small gap at the top of the tank, climbed down to the floor, traveled about 3 meters across the room, found the drain pipe, and disappeared into it. The pipe led to the ocean, and Inky was never seen again. Was Inky unusually clever, or unusually bold, or was he simply unhappy in captivity and determined to escape? We don't know. But the story captured imaginations around the world because it suggested something we all recognize: agency. Inky wasn't just reacting to stimuli. He was pursuing a goal, making decisions, taking risks, and ultimately succeeding. He had a plan, and he executed it. That's not just intelligence, that's personality. That's an individual with desires and the will to pursue them. As you rest here, think about what it means for an octopus to have personality, to be an individual with preferences, moods, and traits that make it unique. It means that when an octopus dies, the world loses not just a member of a species, but a unique consciousness, a one-of-a-kind entity that will never exist again. In their brief lives, octopuses are not just surviving, they're living, experiencing, being themselves, and that's worth appreciating. Octopuses are old, not individually, of course, with their brief 1 or 2 year lifespans, but as a lineage, as a branch of the tree of life, octopuses stretch back deep into history. The oldest known octopus fossil, a specimen called Polsepia mazanensis, dates to approximately 296 million years ago, during the Carboniferous period. This was long before the dinosaurs, when the first reptiles were just beginning to crawl onto land and the world was dominated by vast swamps and forests of giant ferns. Polsepia looked recognizably like an octopus. 8 arms, a soft body, and what appears to be an ink sac. It was small, perhaps 10 centimeters long, and it likely lived much as modern octopuses do, hunting small prey on the seafloor and hiding in crevices. The fossil is flattened, compressed into a thin impression in the rock, but enough detail remains to confirm that this was indeed an octopus ancestor. More recently, scientists described an even older cephalopod relative, Silipsimopodi bideni, dating to approximately 330 million years ago. This creature had 10 arms instead of 8, making it not quite an octopus, but it's the oldest known ancestor of modern octopuses, and suggests that the octopus lineage has been evolving for at least 350 million years, possibly longer. During all that time, octopuses have survived mass extinctions, climate shifts, the rise and fall of dominant species, and the reorganization of ocean ecosystems. They watched the dinosaurs come and go, though octopuses probably didn't think much about the giant reptiles stomping around on land far above. They witnessed the breakup of supercontinents, the opening and closing of ocean basins, the growth of coral reefs and kelp forests. What makes octopuses so resilient? Part of it is their adaptability. With their intelligence, their flexible bodies, and their ability to eat a wide variety of prey, octopuses can survive in almost any marine environment. When conditions change, when new predators appear or old food sources disappear, octopuses adjust. They learn new hunting strategies, claim new territories, shift their diets. They don't rely on a single ecological niche, so they're not doomed when that niche vanishes. Another factor is their rapid generation time. Because octopuses live briefly and reproduce quickly, they can evolve fast. Beneficial mutations spread through populations in just a few generations. Adaptation happens on timescales measured in decades or centuries, not millions of years. When the environment changes, octopuses can keep pace. But despite their ancient lineage and their success, octopuses remain mysterious in many ways. We still don't fully understand how they navigate, how their distributed nervous system coordinates action, how their skin senses light, or even how they decide what color to be. These are active areas of research, and new discoveries are made regularly. But the basic fact remains: octopuses are weird, and we're still figuring them out. One of the deepest mysteries is consciousness. Do octopuses have subjective experiences? Do they feel pain, pleasure, fear, curiosity, in ways that are comparable to how we experience those states? Or is their experience fundamentally different, so alien that we can't meaningfully compare it to our own? Scientists and philosophers debate this endlessly. On one hand, octopuses show behaviors that suggest conscious experience. They avoid painful stimuli. They seem to anticipate future events. They make choices that suggest preferences and desires. Some research even suggests they might dream, based on those observations of color changes during sleep. On the other hand, their brains are so different from ours that it's hard to know what's going on inside. They don't have a cerebral cortex, the part of the mammalian brain associated with higher-level thinking and consciousness. Their neurons are distributed throughout their bodies, not centralized in a single structure. Does that mean their consciousness, if it exists, is also distributed? Could an octopus be aware in multiple places at once, with each arm having its own fragment of experience? We don't know. And maybe we can't know, at least not with our current methods and concepts. Consciousness is hard enough to study in humans and other mammals, where we share a common brain structure and can use language to communicate about inner experiences. With octopuses, we're trying to understand a mind that evolved independently, that works on different principles, that experiences the world through senses we don't have. It's like trying to imagine a color you've never seen. You can think about it, reason about it, but you can't truly comprehend it. What we can say is this: octopuses matter. They're not just curious oddities or clever animals. They're beings with their own forms of experience, their own ways of navigating existence, their own brief, precious lives. In many countries, octopuses are now legally protected under animal welfare laws, recognized as sentient creatures that deserve ethical treatment. This is a relatively recent development, a recognition that intelligence and consciousness aren't limited to vertebrates. As you lie here, sinking into sleep, think about the deep time that octopuses represent. 300 million years of evolution, of adaptation, of survival. They were here long before us, and they'll likely be here long after we're gone. They're part of the ocean's ancient fabric, threads woven through time, connecting past to present to future. When you see an octopus, you're seeing a lineage that stretches back to the Paleozoic, to an Earth so different it would seem alien. And yet the octopus survives, thrives, evolves, continues. There's something humbling in that, something that puts our own brief human history into perspective. And so we come to the end of tonight's journey. We've traveled from the shallow tide pools to the deepest ocean trenches, from the octopus's 3 hearts and blue blood to its distributed brains and color-changing skin. We've explored intelligence that rivals our own, yet evolved along a completely different path. We've witnessed camouflage so perfect, it seems like magic, and lives so brief they barely seem real. The octopus is a marvel, a reminder that life finds a way not just to survive but to flourish in forms we could never have imagined. With no bones to provide structure, they use intelligence and flexibility instead. With no social groups to pass down knowledge, they learn everything anew in each generation. With lifespans measured in months, they cram intelligence, personality, and experience into an impossibly short window. Perhaps the most remarkable thing about octopuses is how they challenge our understanding of intelligence and consciousness. For so long, we assumed that intelligence required a backbone, a large centralized brain, a long lifespan, social structures. The octopus proves that wrong. Intelligence can exist in a soft-bodied mollusk with a distributed nervous system. It can emerge from evolution along a path completely separate from our own. It can manifest in creatures that live alone, briefly, and die young. This should humble us. It should make us think twice about what we assume we know about minds, about awareness, about the inner lives of other creatures. If an octopus can be intelligent, what about other animals we've dismissed as simple or instinct-driven? What forms of consciousness might exist that we don't recognize because they're too different from our own? Tonight, as you drift towards sleep, you carry with you the knowledge of these remarkable beings. Somewhere in the ocean, right now, octopuses are living their lives. Some are hunting in coral reefs, flowing across rocks like liquid, changing color with each step. Others are deep in the abyss, drifting through darkness, sensing the world through touch and taste. Still others are in their dens, guarding eggs that will soon hatch into the next generation, giving everything for offspring they'll never meet. They don't know you exist. They don't wonder about humans or our world above the waves. They're focused on survival, on the immediate challenges of finding food, avoiding predators, and reproducing. Their concerns are ancient, fundamental, the same concerns that have driven life for billions of years, and yet within those simple drives lies something more: curiosity, personality, perhaps even a form of consciousness we can barely comprehend. You are connected to them, not by ancestry, but by shared existence on this planet. You breathe the oxygen that phytoplankton produce in the same oceans where octopuses hunt. The carbon in your body and the carbon in theirs comes from the same ancient cycle, atoms that have passed through countless lives over billions of years. You are part of the same story, the great unfolding narrative of life on Earth. Sleep well, knowing that the ocean continues its eternal rhythms. Waves rise and fall. Currents circle the globe, and in the quiet spaces between the rocks, in the crevices and caves and coral gardens, octopuses are living, thinking, being. Brief sparks of awareness in the vastness, beautiful in their complexity, tragic in their brevity, perfect in their existence. If you found peace in these stories tonight, If the gentle rhythm of ocean facts and mysteries has helped quiet your mind, then this exploration has served its purpose. The Deep Sleep Seas channel will be here whenever you need it, whenever the day has been too long and sleep won't come easily. We'll continue exploring the ocean's wonders, one calm, curious journey at a time. For now, let the image of an octopus rest in your mind, not moving, not hunting, just being, draped across a rock. 8 arms relaxed, skin matching the seafloor beneath it, hearts beating slowly in the quiet, peaceful, present, alive. Rest now. Let your breathing match the rhythm of the waves, slow and steady. Let your thoughts drift like plankton in the current, present but not pressing, there but not urgent. The octopus in your mind grows fainter, less defined, until it's just a feeling, a sense of wonder and peace. And then even that fades, and there's only sleep. Good night.